Okay, I forgot to talk about that lucid dream that I had after the abduction where Joel pushed me out of the vehicle. That last abduction that I posted on YouTube a couple days ago. Yeah, I meant to put the lucid dream, the one that I had right after that abduction, in that video, and I forgot. But yeah, it was about my turtle. Except, I guess the aliens get a little bit confused, and they put a toad in the lucid dream instead of a turtle. Yeah, that's not the first time they've gotten confused. Okay, so this, I had many lucid dreams that morning after Joel abducted me and shoved me out of the car. But I just can't talk about every lucid dream. It would be too much to talk about. But yeah, so this is a lucid dream. You know, it was very realistic, very clear. I don't know, sometimes it's hard to tell if it's virtual reality or lucid. But, okay, so this is a lucid dream about my turtle after that abduction. So after the abduction, I do believe Joel created the lucid dream for me pertaining to my turtle. Or some alien did. I had about 3 to 4 more lucid dreams that very morning after Joel shoved me out of the car. I do have a missing turtle, and I believe he still may be in the ground in my yard. Joel probably knows I really miss him. I should have brought him in before it started getting cold instead of letting my turtles find a hibernation spot. I did bring my female turtle in, so she's safe and sound, and I let her run around the house. So anyway, not often do they create stress for me in my lucid dreams, but sometimes they do. They don't do it very often, but yeah, throughout my life they have created a lot of stressful dreams for me, and sometimes very disturbing virtual reality type of lucid dreams. And sometimes the aliens even make me have bad fights and screaming matches in my lucid dreams and virtual reality scenarios with my mom or whoever. Mainly, a lot has been with me and my mom. They've created a lot of screaming matches and stuff in my lucid dreams. So here is how the lucid dream started. And this was on the same morning that Joel shoved me out of the car in that abduction, where I fell into the grass with all the worms swarming around. I went outside to look for my turtle. Okay, this is how the lucid dream started. I went outside to look for my turtle, and he was hibernating in my soft black slippers in the bitter cold and snow outside under my stairs. I do own those exact slippers that I just bought not too long ago. But it was a toad and not my turtle. It was a toad and not a turtle. I do own a pet toad. I guess sometimes the aliens get confused, but the toad was symbolic of my turtle. I brought him in. He looked very sickly, purplish, and transparent almost. His skin was very thin, like I could see his veins and stuff. It was so realistic. I could tell he was sickly. I was glad I found him. In real life, he disappeared in 2 hours in the middle of my yard on November 19th, between the hours of 11:15 to 1 p.m. I think he found a deep hibernation spot within that time frame. I still don't know where he is in real life. Yeah, I keep having disturbing dreams about my turtle, but I guess I'm getting kind of over it now, but I still hope that he's in my yard. So back to my lucid dream. Anyway, I brought him in and told my sister I found him, and I put him on the bed in our old bedroom we used to share when I was young. Yeah, sometimes they kind of like go back in time, because this was like totally how me and my sister used to live, you know, in that middle bedroom. We had a bedroom that we shared many years ago, 30-something years ago. They like to go back in time sometimes. And this lucid dream, my sister was like 17 years old and smaller. Of course, we all were smaller back then. And she laid on the bed and wouldn't move, like she was being defiant. She was arching her back and laying down and said, "I can't move because I just got back from the doctor." But she could move. She was just being ornery on purpose. It was obvious that she was just being a brat on purpose. And we did kind of fight a lot when I was younger. And I clearly knew that she was just being an asshole and wouldn't move. And I knew she was going to hurt my turtle, except it was actually a toad. It was like the aliens was trying to mock her behavior at age 17, because she did really act that way at age 17. We may have even been more like 14 or 15. I was screaming, "You're gonna hurt my turtle." Finally, I picked up my toad, which was symbolic of my turtle, and he let out a horrid whimper and pain and moan, because my sister hurt him by laying on him. I was very sad and distraught. I looked at him and realized he wasn't seriously hurt after all, and only his left eye was sort of hurt. It was kind of closed, but it was sort of closed and he was fine. So happy ending it was. It must be true the aliens like to test our emotions and stuff. But I think they're just being assholes, to tell you the truth. The reptilians for sure piss me off a lot in my scenarios and make me mad and scream. Then when I try to scream or cuss at somebody when they piss me off under my virtual reality experiences or lucid dreams, they suppress my speech by their ethereal technology. They've done that many, many times, and I remember many, many times of them doing that even before I knew the aliens were in my life. Of course, now I figured it out that it was freaking them dabbling with all my freaking... They create every single lucid dream for me. Every single one. Every single dream. Every single abduction. Every single everything. And they told me that. Back in March. At the end of March. Yeah, and I keep having... there's a couple lucid dreams I had over the past couple mornings. But they weren't so disturbing. One about this teeny tiny little kittens that I found in the grocery store, and they're always sticking me in grocery stores and motels. But yeah, I mean this little kitten was just like 3 inches long, and well, anyway. Yeah, but that wasn't so disturbing. And then there was another consecutive one I had not long after that about another cat, and it was just this little 1.5-inch little cat that was like thrown around in some food that my coworker was gonna serve, and she doesn't like cats anyway. And then I was thinking, okay, I need to take the little cat out, so somebody doesn't kill it or eat it, by eating it. And then it like grew up into a big cat, adult cat, and it was fine. Yeah, and they've created many, many lucid dreams like that many, many times throughout my life pertaining to the little bitty animals and stuff. They've done that many, many times. Where I was just like loving this little bitty animal, and but yeah. So anyway, another thing, this morning at 9 a.m. a little mean reptilian got into my dream state and created a very violent, short little dream. Yeah, somehow he got in at like about 9 a.m. Yeah, you have to fight some of these mean fuckers off, because, yeah, there's some freaking mean ones, man, and they can't get through very often. But if you start talking to these reptilians for out-of-body experiences and stuff, yeah, you have to be careful and make sure you have, protection. Make sure that, the mean ones don't come. But sometimes they still get through, and it was... Yeah, it was that's not the first time they've done that. But it was very violent and very disturbing. And, like I say, they somehow got in because I got into that perfect semi-awake, semi-groggy state. But yeah, I don't want to talk about it because it was a little too violent. Yeah, and it was pertaining to me and my mom. Okay, so here are the two back-to-back reptilian abductions I had on November 21st. Okay, the first one started like this. Okay, now I don't know if Joel gave me these two abductions. Some reptilian did, but I don't know if it was Joel. Okay, so here's my two back-to-back out-of-body experience reptilian abductions, November 21st, 2015. The first one started like this. He put me and my mom in a grocery store. The reptilian created shouting matches for me and my mom, and I was screaming at her and arguing with her inside the grocery store. This is not the first time they made me angry and made me scream under my abductions. Even before I knew the aliens were in my life, I remember many virtual reality lucid dreams like this one. I finally went outside, and it was like I was sitting in my car for a brief period of time, and I kept sticking my right hand down my pants, and I kept feeling testicles. Now this was total virtual reality. This wasn't a dream. It was just total virtual reality. This was so, they were so real, and I don't have testicles. But anyway, I kept feeling my testicles. At least not in this life, I don't. I did in my, I was a male reptilian in my past life. So I know I had balls in my past life. And I was feeling them, and I kept thinking, this is weird. Why do I keep feeling testicles when I don't have any? Lots of times the reptilians throw random sexual stuff in my scenarios. Lots of times they've done that. They've done that many times, just like random stuff. I mean, one time I had this abduction, and they placed me like around a picnic table down here at the convenience store. You know, they duplicate your real life stuff, and they put all that stuff in your abductions. And I was sitting around like with my friends and like my sister and my brother, and right in front of that store. And it's like I was having intercourse with something. You know what I'm saying? And it probably was a reptilian. But they do, but it was like I was just doing normal stuff, having normal conversation, you know, with my friends and my sister. But I was sitting there having intercourse with something. And like I say, they are kind of weird like that. They're very, they can be like very covert. It was probably him that was like freaking, you know, sticking his ethereal dong in me, you know what I'm saying? But I mean, it feels physical, and these, you know, it all feels physical when you're out of body, or whether it's a lucid dream, it all feels very physical. But I'm lucky, like when I wake up out of the abductions, I never feel like I've had intercourse physically. Sometimes the sexual arousal will transfer over, you know, to this dimension, but I never have bruises. I mean, I do get bruises sometimes, like on my legs when they tamper with me, when the Greys tamper with me at my bedside. But like I've never felt like, well, I don't want to be rude, but I've never felt like physically I've really been fucked, so to speak. When they have intercourse with me in the astral, or you know, their dimension that they create for me, or a virtual reality scenario, or a lucid dream, when I wake up, I do not feel like I've physically had sex. I'm just lucky like that. I guess they just don't have that kind of power. You know what I'm saying? But the horniness, lots of times will transfer over. The arousal and the horniness will. And like I say, but just a couple months ago, they all night long, they did something to me physically, my private parts. Because I woke up and yeah, they did something physically. I don't know what the hell they did, but they did something. But I mean, 100% of the time when they have sexual intercourse with me, in the astral, in the out-of-body state, lucid state, or virtual reality state, when I wake up, I do not feel like I've had sex physically. A lot of people do, but I do not. But anyway, I was like, this is weird. Why do I keep feeling testicles when I don't have any? Okay, lots of times they throw random sexual stuff in my scenarios. He didn't arouse me during this experience. I mean, you know, like when I was feeling my balls, I wasn't getting aroused. Joel has turned me into a hermaphrodite more than I can count. And reptilians have overlaid their bodies with mine in my bed in the morning times, many times, and I would feel a penis attached to me in that semi-awake, groggy state. They've done that to me many times, even before I realized it was the reptilians doing it. I'd wake up and I would have like a total penis attached to me. My reptilians do not try to make babies with me. The Greys are taking eggs, I know that, but the reptilians don't give two shits about that stuff. But like I said, I know the Greys are taking some eggs. They tamper with me at my bedside sometimes, and they take their little ethereal lasers, and suck out physical eggs through my physical skin with their little ethereal laser technology. But anyway, they like to do fun, honorary sexual things with me that have no purpose. The reptilians do. And they like to make me climax for the hell of it. I'm sure they enjoy it some way, shape, or form. They like soaking up sexual energy, I guess. I mean, they're energy, right? I mean, they're not physical, they're energy. They are energetic beings that can take on physical form in this dimension, and they're energetic beings in their own dimension, but they still, you know, look physical and feel physical if you touch them in their dimension. But so it makes sense, you know, that they probably freaking get high and get aroused, you know, when they suck up that energy, because they're all about energy, you know what I'm saying? They're made of energy. They like soaking up sexual energy, I guess. Okay, so then I was standing on a high. Okay, so I went from filling my testicles. I kept filling my testicles. Then I went on standing on a high, long, I mean very high. I was at least 60 stories high, give or take a few. So that's about half the height of the Twin Towers. I was standing high on a long, concrete, wide staircase. I was looking down. As I was looking down, I was frightened for a few seconds because I am scared of heights like that. As I looked down, you know, the steps got, you know how it looks like when you look down, the steps get shorter and shorter, which is normal looking at them from a distance that I was looking at them. I was looking down pretty steeply, like I say, probably 60 stories high. 60 stories high. The first step I was standing on before I dove off was about 40 feet wide. I mean, these steps were super wide. They were concrete. I dove off and my body still felt kind of heavily at first. Then I remembered the alien telling me to remember, just tell yourself you are weightless. Which I did, and I flew off with ease like a feather. It was a blast. He also told me similar stuff in the other abductions and virtual reality experiences. He told me that similar stuff about when they gave me that abduction about the tall black angel, and about the black-eyed adult, and about levitating above the water. I put that in another video about levitating above the water. He told me, I thought it was maybe the Greys giving me those experiences, but now I'm thinking it may have been the Reptilians. Well, actually, could have been a little bit of both. But yeah, they told me the same thing in that other abduction when I levitated above the water. You know, I was heavy at first and I kept falling and touching the water. And they were telling me, no, you could do this. You just got to believe in your mind that you're weightless and that you're non-physical, and then you'll just, you know, and I did. And I just like, whoa, I just floated like a feather above the water, and I stayed like that, like a feather, and floated on down the river. I flew over, okay, so after I dove off the staircase, which was this right here, right there, I flew over a small neighborhood and landed into an area that seemed kind of like an enclosed utility station. I was standing there and a familiar 30-year-old brown-headed woman walked in front of me. She looked familiar. She was good looking. Here's the brown-headed woman. Of course, you know, I just made it look like a little stick figure. But here's the utility station. After I astral traveled off the staircase, I was flying over the small neighborhood, and I landed and stood in the utility station. I was standing there, and a familiar 30-year-old brown-headed woman walked in front of me. She was good-looking. I said some sexual stuff to her, and she said, "Yes, I do." Okay, I know what I said, but I'm editing the exact sentence that I said to her out. I know exactly what I said, but like I said, I'm editing it out because it was kind of rude and crude. The flying part was a blast. I mean, they give me the most awesome... I mean, it's kind of like the reptilians are like, "Oh yeah, we'll come and give you all these out-of-body experiences and let you fly everywhere, and we'll give you all this fun, but you got to agree for us to let us do anything sexually, we want to you." That's kind of their attitude. But the flying part, of course, was a blast. The second abduction went like this. Although both of these out-of-body experience abductions were more like virtual reality experiences, they feel the same. Most of the time I know if it's a virtual reality experience, and most of the time I know the difference. And sometimes it may be a little hard to tell. Okay, so the second abduction went like this. Although both of these OBE abductions were more like virtual reality experiences, they feel the same. Okay, here's the grocery store. Where they placed me and my mom, in the grocery store, and I just put a picture of. These are this is my hand. I just took a picture off the internet, and these are testicles of a bull testicles. So I was just trying to make little artwork. But yeah, I tried to punch in like bull testicles or whatever, and some of those pictures were like freaking grossing me out. Okay, so yeah, poor little animals. I can't believe people eat them, man. Okay, so the second abduction went like this. These were both back-to-back on the same morning of November 21st. I may actually be a day off. Although both of these OBE abductions were more like virtual reality experiences, they feel the same. It is just that one, I am really out of body, and the other is the aliens creating the illusion I am out of body. The second one went like this. Me and my mom were happily swimming in a small ocean with huge waves. Between these two buildings, between the pastel buildings and between this college building on the right. The pastel college buildings were on the left. And me and my mom were swimming in this ocean, small little enclosed ocean full of, waves. Waves. And my mom, she doesn't even know how to swim in real life. I do. I'm a really good swimmer, but she doesn't know how to swim. Okay, the second one went like this. Me and my mom were happily swimming in a small ocean, going over huge waves. No rafts or anything. This was total virtual reality. We had no rafts or anything. We were gliding over the waves with ease. It was virtual reality. My mom doesn't know how to swim, and this isn't the first time they placed her in water swimming in my scenarios. They placed me in water lots of times, and I remember many years ago, them giving me a virtual reality experience, and they showed my mom just swimming in a lake, and she don't even know how to swim. They like water for some reason. Okay, so my mom doesn't know how to swim, and this isn't the first time they placed her in water swimming in my scenarios. There was a college building on the right side, and the other side, more college buildings on the left. that were weird shaped and pastel colors. They were totally shaped weird like this. I mean, just like this. All pastel colors. And here's the little, the college building that was on the right. It was kind of like I was about to enter college in this scenario. And that's not the first time they've given me college lucid dreams and virtual reality experiences. We finally stopped swimming and a college administrator was standing there at the right side of the college building. To the right. She was pretty and had brown hair and looked about 35 years old. She was thin and about 5'6". What I mean is, the 35-year-old, the college administrator, was standing right here in front of this building. She was thin, about 5'6". She looked at me and her eyes shape-shifted reptilian. So I put a little reptilian eye right there. Yeah, her eyes totally shape-shifted reptilian. I told my mom, wow, look at her. She is a reptilian. Didn't you see her eyes? My mom just snubbed it off and acted like I was crazy and acted like, you know, that she didn't see anything. The administrator quickly gave me a handbook and it had the rules about texting and no texting. I actually saw those words on the cover about texting when she handed me the book. It was as though I was about to start college and the administrator knew I was going to be a troublemaker because she seemed all authoritarian. I'm not sure what the word to use. It's either authoritative or authoritarian. She was hot, man. She was good looking. And actually, she kind of looked familiar too. A lot of these people and kids and everything they put in my abductions, I mean, they freaking look familiar. And I don't know why or how. Anyway, but this administrator, like, she knew I was going to be a troublemaker. And I guess I was kind of a troublemaker, you know, all my life in college and stuff. And not in college, but in high school and shit. Or elementary school and stuff. So she gave me that handbook. I mean, she gave me that handbook, like, forced it at me. Because it's kind of like, here's the rules book about texting and no texting. You know what I'm saying? Finally, over to the left, there were all the other weird shaped pastel colorful buildings. I drew a picture of them. And here's the picture. All of these weird shaped pastel buildings. Of course, it looked a million times more realistic than what I could draw. I'm not a very good artist. Anyway, so this scenario was kind of interesting because in this scenario, my mom knew the aliens were giving us this experience. And she knew that basically they were fucking with our heads. You know, which is odd because in real life, you know, she don't know shit about aliens and of course they're in her life, but she's not attuned to them like I am. I'm the only one in my family that's attuned to them. Anyway, my mom knew that the aliens were giving us this experience and that they were playing with their heads, and she said, wow, you know, those buildings are fake and they look like styrofoam. Like she knew that it was some kind of virtual reality. Like, you know, it was weird. It's like she knew that the aliens were presenting us with this illusion of these buildings, these fake buildings that weren't really real. But anyway, she said, wow, those buildings are fake and they look like styrofoam. In real life, she is not attuned to the aliens in her life, like I just said. But in this scenario, she was. I was like, no, Mom, they are real and solid. Finally, we walked up closer to the buildings, the pastel buildings, and we were standing in between the buildings in an entryway, and we looked down and started touching them, and we were touching hard pieces of dark, round wood. A man was showing us. I can't remember what the man looked like, but the man was actually showing us these pieces of wood. Well, anyway, we were touching the hard pieces of dark, round wood a man was showing us. Almost like the hard, dark wood bed frame that I used to own. Yeah, I used to have this bed frame that I used to sleep on for many, many, many years. So I think they picked that from my consciousness and threw that in the scenario. I can't remember what the man looked like, but it seemed like he kind of was older and had longish hair. This is a pic of the piece of the building we were touching. It looked like a thick wood donut. Right here. I drew a picture of it. And yeah, it was real. I mean, it was totally hard, real. You know. But yeah, it was just kind of interesting about the... I mean, of course, yeah, now that I think about it, when I was in the abduction, this building did seem real. This one did look physical and real. But when they presented us with these pastel, weird-shaped buildings, I mean, come to think of it, yeah, they did kind of look like you could tell they weren't physical. Which is kind of interesting because most everything in my abductions always look physical to me and feel physical to me. But this was an abduction where those buildings actually did kind of look like they were not physical. But yeah, so that was kind of interesting. So anyway, those were my 2 abductions. And then I told you about that turtle, aka Toad, lucid dream that was right after the abduction, where Joel shoved me out of the car and threw me onto the grass. I posted that a couple days ago. Thanks for listening.